Today's announcement marks a fundamental change in how we address gang violence. Starting with these charges, we are prosecuting street gangs as the criminal organizations they are.
That was the United States Attorney, and that attorney, U.S. Attorney of Minnesota, took a path less traveled today, using a federal law created to go after the mob to indict 45 suspected gang members and associates in the Twin Cities. This was a giant crackdown that teamed up the feds and local police and the ATF. So the men charged are looking at allegations of attempted murder, drugs, and racketeering, the things of organized crime, which is the kind of crime that federal law I just mentioned was created to fight against. It's known as RICO. So what's RICO, you might be asking, and why was it used right here, right now? Jennifer Hoff has been looking into it.
I imagine some people have some questions today, Jana. The federal RICO law passed back in 1970. It's a unique tool to crack down on the mafia back then. But now it does prosecute a lot of things, from street gangs like we saw today to even politicians. But the once pretty much misunderstood tactic is still rarely used.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
The Godfather is a famous movie about a fictional New York mafia family, but its plot is an example attorneys use to explain the very real RICO law, meant to go after people allegedly involved in a corrupt organization.
They got to have their ducks in a row because it generates a lot of publicity.
Jeff Grell is a lawyer turned University of Minnesota professor specializing in RICO cases since 1990, not long after the first of its kind law was passed.
Which is why nobody really understood it for 20 years. And then it's taken a long time for people to grasp a lot of these concepts because they were absolutely unique.
Today, the racketeering influenced and corrupt organizations law rarely goes after mobsters, instead used in both criminal and civil parties in all sorts of enterprises.
Is it hard then to get convictions?
It can be. Usually prosecute people who are sort of on the edge. They go for the black and white cases.
High-profile cases include the Hells Angels motorcycle gang, singer R. Kelly, and the soccer world's governing body called FIFA.
Since he was found guilty of the racketeering charges.
In Minnesota, book and video store owner Ferris Alexander faced RICO charges in the 90s, accused of various violations, including selling obscene magazines that eventually put him out of business.
It's always been a good law. Actually, lots of countries look at our RICO statute as a way to address organized crime in their own countries.
Civil cases are much more common. Grell saying one case may be filed a month in Minnesota, especially amongst corporations. Criminally, prosecutors have to prove a lengthy pattern, plus any underlying crimes, from fraud to murder, a superstructure that makes these cases more uncommon.
It's rare that you see these things. It's rare in the criminal context to have a godfather figure, so you don't see it that often. The only reason it makes sense to use RICO is when you've got somebody that's not engaged in that criminal activity. They're away from it. They don't have their hands bloody.
Bringing this kind of significant case.
No one person can bring a RICO charge, only a county attorney and attorney general. And consequences are severe, up to 20 years in prison and thousands of dollars in fines.
But for RICO, you're liable, regardless of whether you have any specific knowledge of any crimes being committed. You're liable because you operate and manage a criminal enterprise.
Some good information there. And besides that federal law, also most states have a state RICO statute as well. And that also includes Minnesota. They're pretty similar. They tend to mirror the federal version, but then they also fill in some of those gaps over the years that maybe the federal law didn't address. They also make specific clarifications, like what exactly does a pattern mean? And there are also some statute of limitations in those, Jana.
So to be blunt, in this case, the U.S. Attorney is alleging a gang is an organized criminal organization.
Exactly.